Alright guys, we are back with the next game. We have, of course, fan favorite, Hot Hands, Hand Warmers, going up against, excuse me, the team we just watched, which was FTR. As always, I will be joined with Nizcast for analysis and insight into this game and draft. But I am very excited for this game because FTR looks strong, and I've never seen them against, well, we've never seen them before. So it'll be interesting to see them against a team that we do know and understand the quality of their play and strategies that come out.
Yeah, FTR played really well last game. They did exactly what was needed to win. However, they have a completely different challenge this time around as Hot Hands Hand Warmers. We've seen them go very deep into the tournament a few times now. And they're not playing with Monib tonight, though.
Yeah, they are.
That's oh.
Monib's
oh.
they are
I'm
playing
apparently completely blind. Monib is blue.
Who are they not playing with?
Monib.
Frugos, I guess is how you say it. If you guys have not been following the scene for a long time, he used to play pretty actively in the professional competitive scene in the first year or two of Dota, I would say. And then he kind of like petered off and hasn't really shown much since, well, honestly, till today, to be fair, for me.
I feel really bad that we're forgetting who Hot Hands is missing.
Well, I can go back to the VODs and check after this game and give him a special shout out on the next game. Because
our apologies.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I am an asshole.
Right.
I apologize. You can flame me, internet. I'm ready for it. I was born in your flame.
5 seconds remaining.
You merely adopted it.
Yeah, as we were saying, FTR they played well last game, but this is a completely different challenge. Hot Hands is a very, very good team. Not taking anything away from the other team, the Uprising last game, but Hot Hands has shown that they time and time again can perform and can get very deep into the tournament. So FTR is going to have to bring something special, and they bring out the watermelon already.
No, definitely, and I think that's a very strong decision, considering Faceless Void was the pickup from Hot Hands Hand Warmers. You can always ravage outside the Chronosphere. You should never get caught in the Chronosphere's Tidehunter, and even if you do, you can tank quite a bit of damage, and it's usually a poor decision to focus the Tidehunter unless you can guaranteed get him down before that Chronosphere goes. The bans, of course, relatively normal, as we did see Doom and Razor banned out by FTR, and Lycan, Death Prophet, two very strong pushing heroes, getting banned out from Hot Hands Hand Warmers, and they will pick up the Skywrath Mage in addition to the Faceless Void. Relatively, I guess, common or general combo that you'll see coming out in drafts when you have a Faceless Void. Easy setup for the Mystic Flare, and of course the laning presence that Skywrath gives is always a bonus, as we did see FTR pick up that Shadow Shaman for the push potential, as well as just the control that gives you after a Ravage.
Yeah, you mentioned a little bit about the Chrono and the Ravage. I actually find Faceless Void limits Tide quite a bit in how he's able to be played. Tide's a hero who likes to really be up there in the fight and doing stuff, and just kind of playing aggressive, getting in your face. Yeah, of course, as the game goes on, maybe he'll blink in and throw out a big Ravage as the time presents itself. But when he's not, when it doesn't look like a huge engagement, he wants to be in your face. And just kind of swinging his big anchor around.
Drop. Sorry.
And drop, yes, thank you.
Shout out to Lemnick, thank you.
And Faceless Void, because of the fact that he just likes to leap in and throw a Chrono, and it's really important that Tide doesn't get hit with the Chrono. That kind of limits how aggressive Tide can really be, because there's always the threat of Faceless Void being there. So I find Faceless Void actually to be one of the better counters to Tide. And Skywrath is, of course, another one, because if you just don't deal damage to Tide and you silence him, then, well, he's just silenced for the full duration, and he's not able to Ravage. So they have two strong counters to Tide. But you know, Tide in itself is just a great hero. Shadow Shaman, another great hero. And FTR has actually chosen to also ban out the Rubik, so that, you know, Ravage isn't getting stolen, because that's another big concern. But yeah, I'm not too sure how well Rubik and Sky would really pair up. Well, I guess it would work quite well against an off-lane Tidehunter.
Yeah, well, and I do like the way that you can concussive shot and then lift them back towards the end of that slow. And honestly, lift is Positional shifting abilities are really big in my opinion because you can really mess with the positioning, which is at the end of the day at high level Dota really what sets apart teams. Vision and positioning are really the two big things. But that set aside, because Rubik is banned, we did see the Viper and Tinker ban out from Hot Hands hand warmers. I do like that decision because those Viper is just a strong hero that's really annoying to deal with in Chronosphere. You can't really kill him with Skywrath Mage, and then of course Tinker. Sometimes it's just better not to take a bet and let a team have a hero like Tinker, because you could lose a game against a team that, objectively speaking, is not as experienced and probably not as good as you in that sense. So definitely I like where they're going with the bans, and we do see the Wraith King pickup, kind of the same logic as that Viper, but he can be very versatile in the sense that he can also support very easily. I will take care of that, Niz.
Sorry, just sending out the brackets and stuff in chat as Moobot stepped up and timed someone out.
All you gotta do is hit that exclamation point permit.
But I do want to clarify a little bit about what I was talking about the Rubik. If you pick up the Rubik, then there was always this threat of really kind of pushing and a lot of aggression coming out of the Tide and the Rasta and the remaining 3 picks. So I wasn't really sure if you wanted Rubik on your team to kind of defend off that. But after the Wraith King comes out, you're not as inclined to believe it's really push, and they respond with a Vengeful Spirit. So a similar hero in the sense that it can't really counter push that well, like compared to Rubik. But Venge is of course another really great hero, and it roams really really well with Skywrath. So Skywrath, of course, has a long-range slow to slow you down. That allows Venge to get in there, get the stun off, get the minus armor, and everything. It's just, yeah, it's a really good, strong roaming combo. So look for both those supports to be really, really aggressive, moving around the map.
Well, and to add to your note about the Vengeful Spirit, it is a strong counter pick too, because, or I guess block pick, sorry, because you want something like a Vengeful Spirit against a Faceless Void, because if he Chronospheres a target that you don't want to be Chronosphered, just swap him out. However, that's not going to be available to them. They do pick up the Invoker instead. I like the synergy of what Invoker gives you. You can obviously stun to shackles with a Sunstrike across the map. It also adds to your pushing potential, and in the later portions of the game, as long as Invoker has good positioning again, he can always blink next to the Chronosphere and throw in his lot of spells, and it will force out an early BKB from Faceless Void, because of course that Shockwave is a disarm and needs to be thought about. Clinks will be the fire back, and I like that. I like that because basically everything that I just said is kind of suspect to the fact that Hot Hands Handwarmers can just run around the map and dissect FTR and get picks here, there, crew farm, a crew map control, and then all of a sudden all of the things that your heroes want to do can't get achieved because you're getting picked whenever you move outside the map, and it's kind of hard for that kind of lineup to group up early from FTR. They really want to stay spread out and farm for a decent amount of time.
The other thing I really like about this Invoker pickup is the fact that Invoker doesn't really lose lanes. You can pick him, and you always know that if you put him in the middle lane, he's going to do okay. He's never really going to get smashed by any hero. So he's always going to do all right. So he's not going to really fall behind. So that's always a good pick, and it's always good against the Faceless Void and just kind of the other heroes coming out from Hot Hands. But I think Clinks is also a terrific pickup, because once you get the Orchid up, you can just use that to silence the Tidehunter to make sure the Ravage doesn't come out at key moments. We saw, I think it was
10 seconds remaining.
11 doing that. I think it was last tournament when he was playing for Futsy's Ballerinos, doing that, limiting a Tide, using his Orchid to make sure Tide didn't get off key Ravages when it looked like he was stepping up to do so. So obviously there's that kind of there's that to factor in, and Clinks can essentially just kill Rasta whenever he wants if he catches him alone. So that's always something to note as well.
Yep, I do like the Bane as the final ban out here. It's a nice hero to really just clutch, lock down a lot of these heroes, such as Clinks with a Fiend's Grip asleep casually onto the Vengeful Spirit, and as well, you mentioned it many casts ago, but the Enfeeble on Faceless Void is just devastating to the Chronosphere, because it basically makes him inert, and even if you want to, you could potentially sleep someone else during that, and then grip the Faceless Void as the Chronosphere is ending. TA is also the ban out, or final ban out for FTR. I definitely like that too, but they're concerned about the gank potential coming out of Hot Hands Handwarmers, and you mentioned that Invoker generally does very well against most heroes. One hero he never does really well against is a TA. You have to go Quas Exhort, and even then it's not guaranteed you're going to do the best. The other hero that I think actually does really well is Ember Spirit, but you need a haste rune, and Pudge.
There's the Monib Pudge again.
Yeah, we're going to see Monib pick up that Pudge, so get hyped, guys. This is usually a pretty damn strong Pudge from what we've seen of Monib, but it's always worth mentioning Pudge is a big catch-22 or a double-edged sword. I always get those mixed up, so whichever one it is, apply it to this. But yeah, Pudge, he's really terrifying and absolutely horrible to play against when you are really far ahead. However, when you get behind with a Pudge, he becomes really a big weight on your team that's hard to hold on, or I guess lift, put on your shoulders as it would be said. But we'll go ahead and get into the introductions and then let Niz give his analysis on this. I'll go ahead and introduce our friend.
I just have to step away for a minute, so can you actually introduce both teams, and I'll give you my... Okay?
Sounds good. Well, over on the Dire side, we do have FTR playing again as we saw them last game. We have 772-73190 picking up the Wraith King. Looks to be support. Maybe, possibly just the carry, as we have Mistmare on the support Earthshaker for sure. We have Sheep 716 on that mid Invoker again. LT on the support Shadow Shaman, and finally that leaves AJ. So it looks like to be the offlane Tidehunters. Hot Hands are going to smoke up and be looking for a kill. I'll go ahead and introduce them before that happens, as we have Cheech, the captain, on the Faceless Void carry. We have Burger on the support Skyrath Mage, and 727 is going to, or 7727 is going to get killed before I can finish introducing, as the first blood will be secured by Fragos, the support Skyrath Mage, which leaves Melisam as the Vengeful Spirit. Burger is not actually a support this game. He's on the Clinks. I misread that. And finally, that leaves the Star Pudge, Monib, picking up that mid lane role.
Alright, I'm back. I came back just in time to hear you butcher Burger's name once again.
Well, I got it right the second time, so I hope.
Yeah, and I just barely caught the very end of it.
It was just a smoke gank, you know. You know, we've talked about this many times. We both kind of agree. It can have a big impact, but usually speaking, can easily not dictate anything as the game goes along. It did go on Skyrath Mage, though, so early boots on him is worth noting. As Melisam and him actually want to gank here. This Dire Observer Ward is pinging this out, so there is pretty low chance, or a very low chance, that Sheep will actually get picked here. Maybe he's staying around a little bit too long. The concussive shot does go, and we have the right clicks, and of course that's boots, plus the DD doing quite a bit of damage. The slow as well as the sun coming on Sheep, and that will be the second kill, as Monib cleans up that, getting the last hit with a right click. Mistmare in the area, but not close enough to stop that. We will go 2-0 for Hot Hands so far in this game.
Yeah, I talked a little bit about the rowing potential of the Skyrath played by Frugos and the Vengeful Spirit played by Melisam. Just going to be really active, moving around the map, and they actually think they're okay here and not spotted because their gank was.
Oh, a hook in the middle lane might actually be the death of Sheep, as the concussive shot does follow up. However, with a good timed cold snap and that great Fisher block, Mistmare saves his teammate in the middle lane.
One thing I wanted to note is that off the start they smoked to get that gank, and I saw that the Venge had her smoke on cooldown, but they actually started with 2 smokes. So Melisam actually still has a smoke on hand, so look for them to use that and keep moving around the map, keep putting aggression on this FTR team.
Yep, and the supports on the other side are being relatively stagnant. However, the experience that Shadow Shaman right now is getting is not too bad. He did get a decent amount of farm from that as well, and he will pull that one more time into that level 1 camp. Mistmare and LT, good D ward here, noticing the rotations and the movement. However, we do see a full aggressive tri-lane, or quasi-aggressive tri-lane for right now at least, as Frogos and Melisam are here. But Mistmare and LT are just going to go ahead and pull and continue to get some better experience. Melisam will pick up an Invis rune and immediately run towards middle. However, the Dire Ward should have shown that, as she was visible during the fade time. And they should be aware of that she's standing there. Sheep does move up a little bit just to get experience, but if he makes one wrong step, I believe it is a level 2 hook, as I clicked on the Dire Fountain. Yes, it is level 2 hook, so it is decent range. Can set that up. However, a stun coming out of a magic missile, Vengeful Spirit, not very long duration at all. 1.45 at level 1.
Yeah, unfortunately, this is a dead giveaway that you have vision of an invis rune at the top lane. Oh no.
Yeah, and he will get hooked into the middle lane. However, they don't have any detection, to my knowledge, and that is correct. As looks like Monib is trying to predict the movements of Sheep. However, he is quite the bit off. His Sheep does duck off into the river to the right, going for that rune, as he is sending out boots, which will help him quite a bit escape from these ganks as well. And actually, I think it's worth noting that he is not at all going Quas Exhort. We are seeing a utility Invoker. I think that's a good decision given what they're against. That EMP Tornado will be very helpful, but hold that thought as top lane there's a lot of action. Frugos getting picked off on the Skywrath Mage as Mistmare and Squad are able to clean that up. LT getting that kill with Aethershock, and they will smoke up level 3 on that Shadow Shaman, level 2 on that Earthshaker, and really all you need is level 1 Earthshaker, and that level 2 or 3 is really nice on Shadow Shaman. The Aethershock dealing quite a bit of damage and also hitting some creeps. And yeah, this is unknown. Monib is really, yeah, he feels like he's dominating this lane, and he is, but until this point, there goes the cold snap with right clicks. They are going to go ahead and just lap over the shock. Or sorry, the shackles, and the shock will clean it up from LT, as that is the second kill for FTR as this board goes even 4 minutes into this game, 2-2. Tidehunter is also dominating bottom, which is worth noting. However, he is low HP, a little bit of trades coming out, but Briguber not doing as much as you would expect from a Clinks. Maybe the anchor smashes are coming out of AJ are relatively well timed, as we do see him actually or animation canceling very well right there, but. Again, interesting.
Yeah, that was a very good rotation from FTR, making sure that Monib doesn't get off to this ridiculous start, as he unfortunately just kills
Invoker.
the
Sheep, yeah, as I catch the tail end of that right under the tower.
Hot Hands has shown that they're going to be roaming around. They're going to put a lot of emphasis on making sure that Monib gets a good start. And of course, it's a Pudge, right? What does Pudge need? He needs a good start so he can start rolling in the middle game. And we've seen from Monib in the past that once he gets started, he
is going to get another good start. He thought, or the Invoker thought he was safe. The concussive shot, Arcane Seal, as well as the right clicks, and now the dust coming out of the Vengeful Spirit will ensure his demise, as he says most of the time. Invoker going down now 4-2 in favor of Hot Hands, and that's exactly what they need. Monib getting 2 kills back to back, as the supports from FTR, Mistmare and LT are going to try to turn this around. Monib is relatively low HP. They might be thinking about going for this themselves, but it looks like one support LT going to go ahead and back off here.
I was actually really surprised by that engagement on mid. I thought Monib would be able to
Mistmare,
thread
he's
the
in
needle.
a little bit of a trouble. Never mind, it might be LT or it might be Monib. We'll let you guys decide here in the straw poll who
None of
is
these
in
heroes
trouble.
have seen each other.
They're at the wow. Okay, never mind. I thought they had sight of each other, but now Monib is actually going to get sight of Sheep. Does the hook, lands, but the invis coming out, and now the Fisher means Monib is in a very bad spot. Caught between 3 heroes on the wrong side of the map. EMP as well as Shackles will ensure that kill. LT actually getting it with the Shackles.
That was absolutely unreal. Monib just inserted himself into that position just on the edge of everyone's vision. So none of those heroes actually saw each other, and then Monib was just he was just way in the wrong place by the time everything kind of played out there. But that was a key kill for them once again to get on Monib. Just keep him down a little bit.
And
yes, he's getting out of control.
I was going to just mention the dire warding, but Monib taking it into his own power says, "No sir, I don't want you having this ward." We'll get cold snapped by Sheep. However, he does still get the last hit on that ward, as I believe Sheep missed the deny on that ward. But yeah, 2-2 and 2 is much different than a 2-1 and 2 Pudge.
Yeah, Monib obviously plays Pudge quite a bit, as we've seen him be quite successful with it in the past. And that's just a very common ward to place against Pudge.
Oh, we do see the concussive shot on top, as it actually misses Mistmare. As you see the Cheech going to turn around on the Wraith King as he got stunned. Not much else going to happen here, as they do kind of just posture each other away.
But that's just Monib's experience playing the hero, playing just the hero in the mid lane, and knowing generally how people like to counter it. And he actually bought those sentries himself, I believe. So he used that to make sure that he would be strong in the lane, even though he's spending 200 gold. But that's 200 gold, putting that fear back into his opponent, because Pudge is always scary. If you eat a hook, you're pretty much dead. But you see, Invoker actually spent another observer ward on his
Protect
high ground
himself, yeah.
just to protect
And this
himself.
one
So
did expire.
both 6-minute observer wards were used in the middle lane.
That is definitely worth noting, which means they have no movement vision. I guess they have vision over middle. They can tell if Pudge is here or not, but they're not going to know where Pudge is when he's not there. Melisam and Frugos. I gotta say that right, guys. Gotta say that right. He's going to rotate.
Like Vigos.
Yeah, okay, I get it. Okay, well, they're going to smoke up. They're going to set up on that high ground, as we do see a haste rune picked up by Invoker. If there was a rune that would help him, it would be that. However, TP top as Cheech is in trouble, dropping really low. Ether Shock to clean that up. Was he catch the tail end of that? Monib says a down teammate. Maybe I'll try to turn it. Throws out the hook. Misses. As Shadow Shaman was just slightly out of range. And now actually Melisam and Frugos might be able to pick up a kill here, as they are not seen to my knowledge. Hiding in the shadows right now. It is daytime, however, so this creep might be giving vision of them. Monib is going to duck into the side, as well as now Frugos is going to run off into the lane. Does have the option to throw out concussive shot. Chooses not to. Both supports from FTR are going to back up. And this is giving Cheech some farm in the middle lane. And of course, Burr is getting quite a bit down in the bottom lane. 38 last hits, catching up and actually surpassing the Tide. As we do see Cheech on top with that Treads and Morbid Mask in his inventory.
Yeah, I don't know if you caught it on stream, but Berguber just used the Death Pact on a creep in the lane. But look for him to actually jump into the jungle and quickly Death Pack a big creep and come back into the lane. And he, even if his CS will actually be equivalent to Tide, he should be getting ahead in terms of golden experience because of that.
Do you see quite the trap being set up for Sheep in the middle lane?
But
Or is it a
Snare
trap
and
for
LT
Monib?
are on this.
Yeah, they are. They are going to find Monib again. The question now is Monib catching out Mistmares. We do see the Hex follow up with the Fisher. Now the leap in from Cheech does get the Chronosphere onto LT as well as Sheep, but the stun from 7727 going to stop Monib from re-engaging. He is at low HP. Cheech going to clean up the kill on the Shadow Shaman, but now Wraith King caught between 3 Radiant heroes. Going to be Cheech. Actually might be the next one to fall, as he has leap in 3 seconds. Doesn't look like there's going to be a Fisher coming up, and Munna does miss his hook. Cheech leaping to the low ground. There is no pursuit, however, as Wraith King is running slower. Now with that concussive shot guaranteed that Cheech gets away. 5-4 as Cheech and Monib walking away limping, as it were. And actually the hook onto Mistmare does immediately get the dismember, and with 22 HP will get that kill. Frugos might be caught out now, and this will be a consolation prize for the Wraith King as well as Sheep, as they do have the cold snap right clicks. Actually, is it enough? It is enough with a good little stab in the back from Wraith King, cleaning up that kill. 5-6. FTR behind in this game right now. But if we go to the golden experience graphs, kind of say the same thing. Hot Hands Handwarmers doing a better job controlling their lanes, getting more out of their lanes. And Berguber still actually on par with this Tidehunter, and it is worth noting, Mechanism picked up by him.
Yeah, that was very good of Monib to throw out that hook and kill the Earthshaker. Of course, taking advantage of the fact that you can turn Rot on and off while you're dismembering without interrupting the channel. So he turned on Rot just for the little bit of damage that he needed, and then turned it off before he, of course, denied himself. And walked away with 22 HP, but a kill. So very good play by him at very low life to pick up another kill, as there was a little rotation there from the Dire side, which Monib thwarted, I guess.
Monib's going to throw another play, as he does get the hook onto AJ and the dismember to clean up that kill. Was standing in the trees there for a few seconds. Sheep is relatively safe right now in middle lane, as Chronosphere is still down for 10 seconds. Wraith King TP'd to support his buddy, but his buddy was long gone by the time that he was there. So again, right now Hot Hands in the last few engagements here are definitely taking the advantage of these trades, and we see Mask of Madness popped by Faceless Void. Actually, it's just to farm the camp. As I did see Monib rotating around, I assumed Monib wanted to go for some kills, but rather Monib and Cheech are just going to continue to farm. Chronosphere is up now, so if they want to fight, it would be a good fight for them to take. Could be, rather. Depends on how the Chronosphere is used. We do see actually 4 heroes from FDR. TP from Tidehunter as he comes in with the Mechanism. Monib does have that double damage rune, does get spotted out by Wraith King. Will pop the Invis on top of his DD, so they do not know where he is. Tornado flying out will miss the mark, as Monib has now inserted himself behind the Dire side. He is caught between them and his team as he is running along Mistmare, getting close to LT here. They have no idea where he is. Melisam and Frugos are in the area, as we do get the concussive shot onto Mistmare. Fisher as well to help solve that up, but they're still unaware of Monib. They might be aware now as the actually yes, they are aware. Great anchor smash there, as he did get body blocked for a second, making him aware of that positioning. Hook does go out, misses, as 5 heroes from FTR are now set up in the top lane. 4 heroes rather, as we do actually see Sheep hiding in the fog in that middle lane. But again, they do drop the wards. They will begin to siege here, and they want to fight as they have that mech, they have that Ravage, and they want the hook onto Tide. They could reinitiate, and they will get that hook. Question is, does he throw out the Ravage? They does get the Ravage off the Chronospheres off the left, but does hit everyone on the side of Hot Hands Warmers. AJ going low, but he is going to stay alive just long enough to do some more damage. Cheech taking quite a bit of damage in the back of the fight. Will get cleaned up now. Tornado hitting on 2. Great play by the Invoker in the Aethershock to give LT a triple kill, and Wraith King doesn't even die, as he has that Aegis, of course. And in bottom lane, Uber trading the best he can, getting 1 tower, possibly 2. But that was a great fight coming out of FTR.
That was absolutely terrific. That's exactly what they needed. You know, obviously they devoted five heroes to it, and Hot Hands only showed up with 4, but, you know, Hot Hands left with 0, so, and a tower to boot. So even though I wanted to mention that Melisande on the Venge actually picked up the Medallion of Courage and had it for that fight, and also got a really good wave of terror that hit a lot of heroes. But even still, with a decent chrono and a good wave of terror and that medallion, they still lost 4 heroes at the price of, I believe, just a Wraith King reincarnation.
Tidehunter.
And Tidehunter, sorry, yeah.
Oh, we do have Hook on to Sheep, as he does throw out the Tornado. Great time there, and gets off the Ghost Walk. No detection in Pudge's inventory. Monib might want to consider picking up some Dust or Sentries himself, as every single time he wants to attempt a solo gank, he will need it for that Invoker. Does throw out the Blind Hook. A little bit off the mark, quite a bit actually, about 400 units. Is in the bottom lane, we do see Uber hunting down this Wraith King. He does not have a reincarnation, and there it goes, Strafe, plus the right clicks with that DD, or no DD, sorry, just the right clicks and his Strafe. He does have phase boots, that's where the glow is coming from, so he does have an extra 24 damage, chasing down the Wraith King, dropping down to 355 HP, 230, doesn't look like he wants to pursue down under the tower. TP cancelled by, it looked like the, yeah, it looked like Earthshaker, so.
Yeah, just the threat of that TP was obviously enough to thwart Uber's chase there, as his Invis was on cooldown, and of course Wraith King could have just turned around and thrown out the stun.
Oh, it leap in from the Faceless Void, but again, a great Tornado coming out of this Invoker. Definitely good reactions. We do see the Chronosphere, however, does have to run around it, but the Mystic Flare will clean up Sheep, but meanwhile in the top lane, Mistmare and Monib are going to have a fight, with Monib coming out on top. Cheech is actually not going to get the kill on Invoker, as the Mystic Flare wasn't enough to clean him up. It looks like Faceless Void got caught somewhere in that Chronosphere. I lost track of him, thought Invoker was going to die, but he does die. So now it's a trade for Earthshaker and Invoker. 10-9 on the board, and if you're behind, trades are where you want to go for. Especially if your Invoker makes it out alive, their Faceless Void dies, and you trade an Earthshaker.
Yeah, the Fissure was actually placed almost exactly on top of Sheep on that Invoker. So Mistmare's Fissure actually forced Cheech to walk all the way down around it through the trees at that middle lane. So he actually wasn't even able to get to Invoker in time to kill him by the time the Chrono was off.
And we do see the items here. Blink Dagger on LT, very, very important. Showing their farm coming out. Looks like an Orchid being built up by Invoker here. Meanwhile, on the side of Hot Hands Warmers, we almost have the Orchid on Uber. Frugos just picking up that Arcane Boots, and of course the Mask of Madness on Cheech, looking to build into possibly a Maelstrom. Monib setting up for the hook, but there is no one in range. Sheep off in that Ghost Walk to the side with a good angle, ready to throw out that Cold Snap as well as invoke in with the Tornado, but it looks like they're just going to pop off Melisande as he does get fissured. Cold Snap to follow up, right clicks are there, however, not enough follow-up to nab that kill as they weren't able to keep him in spot, and now the Invis active by Monib. Looks like the Courier is going to get sniped by Clinks using that strafe. Does get that kill, which will mean his Orchid is up online, just a matter of seconds before he buys that recipe. There is a sentry ward in the middle lane for the Dire, so they do get the Tornado onto Pudge that will purge his Invis. Now the Cold Snap followed up by the Wraith King stun, and now the Ravage actually stuns most of them, missing on the somehow the Vengeful Spirit, but she's going to fall anyways as the Skywrath Mage dies. Monib does go for that hook, but Mistmare gets out alive. Top tower will fall to Cheech during this, but wards are down in the middle lane, so we will see this middle tower fall. Monib setting up on the high ground, looking for a hook. Not sure who he wants to aim for, We'll see in just a second as he throws it out. Does get it on Mistmare right in front of that. But however, the blink from LT is going to stop this from turning into a free kill as he's going to lose his life for this. The Tornado throwing him up in the air, guaranteeing that kill for Invoker in 13-10 as FTR is looking to possibly upset Hot Hands Handwarmers. It may be looking like it. Clinks Burger does get that bottom tower as a trade. But what I was going to say, it may be looking like an upset, but it's not an upset yet. So
it's still very, very early. And Melisam on the bench actually swapped Monib as the Ravage came out. And Monib got hit by the Ravage, and of course Ravage radiates out from Tide. Melisam actually, with the swap, ended up going on the other side of the Ravage. So
okay, that's
avoiding
what I
the
thought
stun
would happen. That was cool.
Yeah, avoiding the stun altogether. But I wanted to point out that they weren't able to clean up the kill on Venge to start that before everything, just because Tide didn't have Gush, and unfortunately that's a byproduct of the fact that Tide had to in fact
might
get
be in the
Mex
wrong
this
place
game.
right now. He's right next to Cheech and Melisam. However, Melisam getting fogged there as Mistmare and AJ are right next to them. It looks like Cheech is going to get the heebie-jeebies and leap out as he knows there's multiple heroes in the vicinity. Nothing going to happen of that, so you can go ahead and finish your thought.
No, what I was just quickly mentioning is when you want to pick up a mech on Tide and you choose to do so before getting mana boots, you actually can't get Gush until you're around the time that you're going to be finishing your mana boots, or basically level 10, because you just won't have the mana to support it. So that was unfortunate that they didn't have Gush online. Otherwise, they would have picked off a kill on Venge before
5
any of that
heroes
started.
for both teams. We do see the Fisher and the Tornado. Not going to be too much of an engagement yet. But yeah, definitely agree with you there, Niz. And we'll see what happens, because we did see that Orchid pick up on Plinks as well as a Ogre Club. Going to be a lot tankier, does have a full Death Pact on a large creep. And this fight's going to be a big one, as we do see the Wraith Fire Blast going out onto Clinks, dealing some damage and stunning him up. However, it should be, level 1, as he did go max stun. Generally the preferred build for the carry Wraith King. He does have Reincarnation up, and it looks like a great Dire Observer Ward is actually going to spot out the invis from Clinks. And now all 5 heroes from FTR are going to smoke up as they want to take a fight here. We're going to go ahead and split off as the Wraith King is off to the side. Other heroes are over here. Sheep is going to immediately find out on Monib, and they are going to throw down the Tornado as well as the MP, and they have the Cold Snap. Invis rune active by Pudge, but again, that Tornado purging the rune, and now Frugos is caught out with the Fisher, and then the Blink Hex onto him will clean him up. Gem is dropped, will be picked up by the Dire team if they see it. They should see it. They will ping it out. There we go. We have confirmation. Can confirm that FTR does see that gem, and again, great rotations from them, and I'm not trying to call the game, but again, it looks like FTR is definitely setting up for that upset, that they're playing the fights right, that engagement. I really like how they just waited until, a Hot Hands got Cold Hands and walked away, and then FTR said, alright, smoke up, let's go. They're not ready for it, and catching 2 heroes off guard.
Yeah, you can tell there was not desperation, I think that's the wrong word, this may be a little bit too dramatic, but I'm going to use it here. A little bit of desperation, I guess, from Hot Hands as they decided to pick up a gem on Frugos. Well,
that Cheech is in the river, going to get hexed off, and now into the shackles. They do get the silence on, and a 4 or 3 man Chronosphere's Burger is going to immediately burst down the Invoker, and now the Tidehunter falls as well. He's doing a lot of damage, clearing up the Earthshaker as well, and now LT getting absolutely cleaved away at by this Faceless Voids. Looks like Wraith King does get swapped back. The Arcane Bolt is chasing him now. A second one. Stun comes out from Vengeful Spirit, the hook back, and now the Ravage onto 4 heroes, but it's not going to be enough as they're already down 2. The Concussive Shot going on to Sheep as he drops down to 600 HP. Mechanism thrown out by him. Turn around. Tornado hitting on 4 heroes as that might stop the pursuit right there, but even though they got that initiation onto Cheech, what a Chronosphere.
So I'm going to be quick because obviously I got a lot to talk about here. After that LT, I was actually able to blink away. He didn't die. To Cheech. He was able to get away from there without dying. You talked about it a little bit at the beginning. Tide was caught in the Chrono, not able to Ravage as they managed to kill him in the Chrono. So that was a really big thing that helped Hot Hands Handwarmer win that team fight. And the other thing I was trying to mention is that there was a little bit of that desperation play, picking up the gem, trying to get some map control.
Monib on. Looks like he did use the Dismember on the Mistmare. Now he gets hooked back. Orchid onto him as well as the Earthshaker. However, Earthshaker taking a searing arrow to the head will go ahead and fall. Looks like there might be a second. Never mind. We'll get to the re-summary of that fight. And then the hook onto AJ will also be followed up by a stun. Now the Mystic Flare thrown down, but off the mark, as that will go on CD now. But again, Clinks with that Searing Arrows just chipping away, not even chipping away, chunking away at that tier 2 tower, dealing over 240 physical damage right now, if I'm not mistaken, with Searing Arrows and Death Pact active. And yes, that is the case. So, Niz, sorry, go ahead and hopefully you'll get the time to finish up the red. Nope, I lied. It's actually Sheep is looking like he wants to initiate here. They do not have Ravage up yet on AJ. 56 seconds, but the Gush on to Monib, followed up by the Orchid, but the Chronosphere from Cheech hits on 2, and meanwhile in the background, it looks like Burger Uber is keeping 2 heroes, or all 3 heroes distracted, and actually turns around, cleans up the Earthshaker, and now throws some Searing Arrows onto Wraith King as 3 heroes fall. Wards are used, and that is a rather horrible turn of events for FTR.
I don't know if you were centered with the camera on top of that Chrono, but notice how in the Chrono he caught Tide once again, but this time he knew that Ravage was on cooldown, so he didn't even worry about killing the Tide first. He went after the Invoker as a higher priority target at that point. If it was a different point in the game where Ravage was off cooldown, he would have focused the Tide Hunter. Really good recognizing the situation at hand, adapting. I don't know what word I'm supposed to use here, but I'm using whatever one I feel like. And Cheech did a good job of it.
Yeah, no, I mean, well put, honestly. Every single one of those terms was quite descriptive. Midas on Wraith King. I feel like they were, in the same thought that I was, where it's like, okay, guys, we're up, we might actually upset this team. We might, we might beat them. This would be awesome. So they feel really far ahead, and that Wraith King picks up a Midas. Do you think that's a mistake, or do you think that could be beneficial to them?
Well, you know what? You're talking about it potentially being a mistake, but he's got his Blink flying in right now.
Okay, so he has been farming very well.
Yeah, that Midas has gotten him that Blink, and it hasn't set him back that much.
And now we actually see a Blink forward with that recently acquired Blink. The hook, though, from Monib, as we had seen in earlier games, great at recognizing when he needs to hook away his teammates and not go for the offensive hooks. As the Chronosphere does come on cooldown, Cheech is going to choose to leap away for now, as he does pick up that Aghanims as well, so having access to a full 5-second Chronosphere, and now the Silence as well as the stun onto Cheech, taking quite a bit of damage. The EMP will burn out all his mana, and the Ravage hits on multiple heroes on the side. However, BKB from Burger Uber will prevent him from getting affected by cleaning up both of the supports, and now Blink in from the Wraith King, getting the stun onto Monib, but the swap from Melisam to stall that out, the concussive shot to follow up onto AJ as the chase continues. Melisam dropping low, the hook from Monib, again to save his teammate, but now Burger Uber is caught up between 3 enemy heroes and his teammates. He does get away, the Tornado to give them vision as well as chase, and now the Blink forward from Wraith King does get the stun onto Melisam, will be cleaned up by Tidehunter with that Gush. Monib potentially going to be the final pick of this engagement, as he is in the trees. He did pick up that gem, which is worth noting. If he dies with that gem, it would be very important. They are going to Blink forward, and they will see him. They do get the stun, followed up by the MP. The Orchid will be there to prevent any self-denial, and that will be a free follow-up kill as a little prize at the end for FTR. With a decent turnaround to that fight, that could have been a lot worse. Honestly, Chronosphere was never used because Cheech got EMP'd and stun-locked at the beginning of that fight.
Yeah, we mentioned it last game talking about Lycan and Wolves. Well, Sheep on the Invoker was a Lycan Wolf there, kind of spotting them out while he was in Viz, and just saying like, hey, they're here, let's get some good positioning. And I ended up with a pretty big Ravage. It was centered Ray actually on Burger Uber, who's actually BKB, but it did hit the surrounding heroes and set them up really well for the team fight. And then there was some really good kiting that came out of Hot Hands, and we saw the swap come out, and then Melisam got pressure, but he got away as Monib hooked him away, and then they switched back to Burger Uber, and then he invised and ran away. AJ on the Tidehunter actually had dust at that moment. He could have used it, and I probably could have picked up the kill on Burger Uber, but maybe he was a better judge of the situation than I was.
Running wide by each other. It looks like that is going to turn into a major kill as LT does get silenced up. Now the right clicks coming out of Clinks, however. Oh, with that crit, about to call it. But that RNG for him in his favor, netting him that kill. But yeah, Invoker and Clinks ran right by each other. I was waiting for the dust to pop and the potential turnaround, as we see a lot of defensive wards coming out of the Dire, but they feel the pressure, and when you're against a Pudge, honestly, that kind of warding can really pay off. We'll see if they can take advantage of it, as honestly, Cheech and squad are ready to go high ground here, as Monib is going to force that forward, throw a blind hook, will not hit any heroes. AJ does not have access to that blink yet, and they will throw down the Chronosphere and just go for the kill on AJ. And he does not have buyback because he used it in the previous fight. Actually, he does. It comes back off cooldown. Wraith King will lose his Aegis, but the wards coming out will block out the block Faceless Void, but the Ravage hits on 4. The Echo Slam hits on 2, and now 2 heroes are down. Faceless Void and Klink's getting low. Melisam and Frogos are also really low, about to die. Monib gonna get shackled up, does get cleaned out.
Oh.
And actually the stun and Hex onto Skywrath Mage will get him in the background. They clean up Melisam, and a full 5-man team wipe coming off of a great buyback. Ravage from Tidehunter. And
You know what?
oof, Echo Slam.
Frugos was so close to getting away there, but I have to think that Hot Hands was on the same thought process as you, that AJ was still on cooldown with that buyback, because I also thought he was still on buyback, but as soon as he died, he bought back and hopped back into that fight, and it was quickly turned around because Hot Hands had just committed a little too far. The other thing I wanted to mention is you were talking a little bit about the defensive wards that were coming out from this FTR team, but I also want to talk about their recognizing the fact that there's a lot of map presence, a lot of moving around the map. That's what Pudge does really well. Of course, the 2 supports have been doing it really well. The Klinks is running around doing it. And it's really scary to kind of venture off alone and place a ward as a support. So they've actually been using Invoker to do a lot of that, using his Ghost Walk to kind of venture out and place a ward. So he isn't as in threat of dying as a weak support, or a relatively weak support would be.
Well, very well put in his
Oh, no.
action motive. Yeah, running right by heroes. Actually, the
my.
hook onto the Invis Earthshaker. Sentry ward does go down, but it's a little late as Miss Mary is going to go ahead and move on about out of there. Also, a ward going down from Frugos to give control of that Roshan. They definitely have the better Rosh control right now, considering all of the Dire Towers are dead. It's actually about equal, which is really important for Radiant. But now we actually see a concussive shot onto Invoker, is followed up by the hook, but he did force staff himself back, is able to get away from that. Not going to die there, and Burger Uber getting a lot of farm.
Yeah, Monab actually had no vision of the high ground there. That was just essentially a blind hook. He actually caught Earthshaker, and you saw there was a little bit of a pause, because he didn't really realize that he had hit someone because the hero didn't show up. But then he, of course, realized that his hook had done the kind of gore animation, and the fact that he had actually hit something. So then all of a sudden the frantic pings came out like, drop a sentry, but they dropped it unfortunately too late, and Miss Mare was able to walk away while still invis and unharmed.
Yeah, and you know what also is a big note? Tidehunter picks up his Blink Dagger, and now he doesn't have to just put himself out front to get Chronosphered. He can actually choose to stay back. And you know, if Cheech doesn't see any heroes to Chronosphere, or they don't see a good initiation, Hot Hands might, you know, force an initiation, or make or not initiate at all. And you know, that's what it comes down to in higher level games, is right, if you can stop the team that wants to initiate from getting the initiation they want, they either go for something that's less than ideal and hope for the best off of that, or they just don't initiate and wait for later, which you can then choose to counter initiate as they're backing off.
Yeah, if you look at this lineup from FTR, typically as a Tidehunter, you actually don't really, because there's so much control, you don't really need a Blink Dagger to be really effective with the Tide on that team. However, the Blink Dagger is just going to make you more effective. But as I said earlier, when you throw the Chronosphere on the other team in the mix, then that Blink Dagger becomes almost necessary. So that's a very core pickup, and it's good to see him get that, because now that's going to
What's sad
really give him
timing
a lot of
is
potency.
look at the Broche, and look what they just ran through.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate when that happens in games. You can never know with that random timer, but it will be up right about now, as we will go ahead and see Roshan spawning any second, as there's no action on the map, and we can watch the big boy drop onto the map.
That's why you pick Venomancer. You just put a ward down there all the time. You don't
Or
have to worry.
TA, or honestly, Ember Spirit is another hero that's really good at that. And what's another good hero at that?
They do have one hero who could do it. Rasta could just drop the mass serpent wards to scout.
On cooldown every single time, Rasta. We need to know. We need to know. Give us that information, Rasta.
But Hot Hands does know. They have
Yeah,
scouted it.
they have, and that is worth noting that, you know, again, FTR has not seen it, so they will not be aware. Monib is going to be bottling up a DD, or a haste after using that DD, and actually Cheech getting caught out, as there is that Orchid preventing him from getting away. He does not have his BKB yet. will get cleaned up, losing 500 gold in that death, and maybe Burger uses this opportunity to just go straight into Roshan, as he knows most of the dire heroes are on the opposite side of the map, and that is going to be the case. They don't have any wards to see this. I don't think they saw that Howl of Terror because the creep wave wasn't quite there yet.
They did see the rotation from Monib leaving the middle lane,
Yeah, and they are
because he
pinging it
actually
out.
didn't wait for the fog to go away. But
it's too late.
it doesn't matter. They were too fast at killing it.
Looks like they might try to do something off of this, as Wraith King is going to go ahead and move forward here. He did recently acquire that MJ, so he will go to town, but a good hook again from Monib, saving his teammate Melisam as the blink forward from Tide wants to continue this fight. The Gush does get off before the sun, and that will be the death of LT. Ownage sounds as 5 kills unanswered for FTR in this game.
I was just about to say, how the hell has 25 people died on Hot Hands team when you have Monib just constantly hooking everyone back to safety all the time? It's unreal. If it wasn't for him, they'd have at least 5 more deaths, if not more.
Yeah.
He's just constantly saving people in team fights. Unfortunately, Melisam decided, you know what? No, they deserve this. I'm going to run back in and die. And he ends up dying in the end. But
Well, something I want to draw your attention to, Niz, is a little bit of a shout out here to FDR. If you look at the gold and experience graph, they've been fighting in a disadvantage this entire game, pretty much.
you know what? Until you mentioned that, I never would have guessed that with how this game has been going. Obviously, if you look at the items, you can kind of see that. But you couldn't tell by the team fights and just the pace of the game and how the game's been going. Obviously, you can tell Hot Hands has been kind of the aggressors, really trying to force their hand and bring the game to FTR. But FTR has been doing a really good job of just dealing with it and just reacting to it and just performing when they need to in the team fights and walking away ahead in most cases.
I definitely agree with that, and that's how I felt when I looked at it. If they're behind and they're doing this well, I venture to say what would happen if they were able to get a gold and experience lead this game, and we'll see if they can go ahead and do that. As and it is worth noting those graphs are not completely accurate, as they are they're not net worth and net experience. Yeah, they're gold earned, and so that does not account for the amount of gold lost in these kills, but definitely shows the story of this game. Burger did pick up that Daedalus during our intermission about this game. Very big pickup for him. 600 damage crits. Should be able to just melt any hero he wants, and not quite in range of the Invoker, but Invoker, of course, having that gem does see Burger and might want to try to go on this. However, he does have that BKB. Burger is going to get a creep, and now they're going to blink in on him. They do get the Hex, so he won't be able to activate that BKB. Wraith King's stunned to follow up. They throw down the Orchid too to help the 8 damage jam. He doesn't actually go for the BKB. He chooses to save it for his second life. Cheech is there, does get down the Chronosphere, but his teammate Clinks is stuck in it as well, which means when he comes out, he's just going to get Hexed. Doesn't even get the chance to get the BKB. Will buy up as soon as he dies. Cheech having to kill his teammate to save himself, and that's never a good situation.
Yeah, that was just, it was almost unfair. Sheep was obviously in Viz, and he had vision of Burger the whole time, and he just did a good job of waiting, knowing that his Ghost Walk would reveal himself if he got too close to the creep wave. Waited for his team to get closer, and then ran in and just jumped on him. Burger didn't have a chance, and of course, Aegis was thrown away there, and then Cheech came in, throw the Chrono, but there was no chance of getting away for Cheech, or for Burger, and yeah, now they're probably going to get a tier 2 on the back of it, no problem.
Yeah, the siege of that tower does begin, as we actually see Sheep off to the right, or I guess off to the north. He is going to force that forward, throw out that tornado, does give them vision. They are aware that the positioning for Hot Hands is not anywhere close enough to defend this tower, and it will fall, giving them a 1 tower deficit. Yeah, they have 1 tower deficit right now.
They actually didn't completely know their positioning, and if you saw AJ's positioning, he was all the way back here. You know, making sure, Chrono's going to be back up about now, and I actually checked right as I saw him standing back there, and there was 1 second left on Chrono cooldown. So AJ making sure that he's staying back, not getting caught in the Chrono, and as soon as his team pushed up and saw that Hot Hands had retreated, they weren't holding the ramp, then AJ pushed up and started putting some DPS on the tower. But just good job, respecting the fact there is a Chrono on the team, and that's going to be very, very vital to stopping him from doing what he needs to do. So just great positioning from AJ.
Succinctly put, as I honestly think that right now AJ or FTR and AJ and crew, aka FTR, is starting to get to a point where they could. I don't think they.
Did they see this? Look at this.
They might have actually seen this. They are pinging it out. It looks like the Invoker illusion is going to stay there and potentially bait this out. Monib going to run up. Should be aware that this is an illusion, and yes, he is aware, as it's doing no damage. No, they're going to go ahead and initiate on it anyways. Smoke will get blown there, and I think the reason they knew, even if they didn't see the smoke actually get used, deduction, right? There's no one farming those lanes, so what else could they be doing?
No, but like the middle lane was still here, and even the bottom lane wasn't that progressed yet.
Well, then they had to have seen it,
It was just really good knowledge that this was potentially something they were going to do.
Well, now Sheep and Cheech are right next to each other. We will see the BKB pop by Cheech as he does get a two-man Chronosphere. Immediately switches targets over to that Invoker as they do throw down the Mystic Flare. And now AJ blinks back in, does get Orchided up, followed up with that Ancient Seal. And now Wraith King going to get focused down in that second life. Blink Echo Slam comes out of Mistmare, hitting on 3. And the Ravage hits on another 3 as the BKB from Cheech is preventing that from affecting him. But AJ, it's not enough. His team falling one by one. Mistmare does get swapped back, missing the hook, but it doesn't matter because he gets cleaned up anyways, and the only hero left standing for FTR is going to be LT, the support Shadow Shaman, who, well, I don't know, Niz. What do you think about that fight? Because that Chronosphere worked out really well, I think.
Obviously, they did a terrific job of avoiding that smoke gank, but then they put themselves in position around that tier 2, and Monib started everything off with a great hook on the Wraith King, and then Cheech was throughout the Chronosphere. He caught 2 heroes in it, and they were able to play on the back of it. And I could just see AJ just lying in wait, waiting to blink in and Ravage. And he actually blinked in, and he caught the very, very edge of the Chronosphere. I think he maybe just blinked a little bit past his max range, or clicked to blink a little bit past his max range, hit the edge of the Chronosphere. It froze him, or stunned him, or whatever it's called, for less than half of a second. And that was just enough time to delay him from ravaging that Bergie Uber was able to throw the Orchid on him and silence him. So he wasn't able to get the Ravage off until much, much later in the fight. And that was frankly the biggest turning point in that fight. That was FTR's chance to come back essentially after a bad engagement. A bad engagement because of course it was started by Hot Hands, but that was their moment to actually win that fight, and unfortunately it didn't pan out for them. But they're not out of it yet. They've only lost 1 set of racks, and like you said, by the gold graph, they've been playing from behind most of this game, but it hasn't felt like that at all. So as we get further and further into this game, the team fights are becoming more and more important, and a swing like that can easily happen the other way.
Definitely agree with that, but if Hot Hands can just continue that level of execution, have that, transcendent moment as a team and be like, all right, guys, if we just silence Tidehunter like that, we can do this. We can win this game. Then it definitely is Hot Hands' game to lose right now. Again, the gold graph swung back up to 12K, so it is much harder than it was earlier. And I honestly think they do have the better tools to win out in this game. The question is, can they execute it? The age-old question of any competitive sport. Can you execute when you're ahead and put that nail in the coffin? We'll see. As 4 heroes are grouped up here in relatively similar locations for FTR as the BKB is popped by. Faceless Void is blinked forward. Wraith King trying to get the stun. Will take quite a bit of damage from that Mask of Madness, dropping down to 75 HP. Cheech not quite able to get that kill. Does throw the Chronosphere. Hits on LT. Does get immediately Mystic Flare, but the Ravage does clean up Cheech and gets the stun on Frugos, who's going to die as well. Now Booger Uber is going to stand as a one-man army and try to take on the entirety of FTR, and he might just do it as 1's down, 2 down, now 3, and in the back Monib is going to get the 4th and the 5th for the ultra kill, as Bergie Uber on that Clinks is cleaning house, and the GG called as Sheep says we don't want to take any more of that Clinks with that Daedalus and now an AC.
I gotta say, I was focused on Mona, who was in Viz in the back of that fight, on the FTR side essentially of that fight, and he was driving me insane. I was like, what are you waiting for? Go, 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 go. He was just sitting there in Viz, but he chose his time wisely, and his team obviously came out way ahead in the team fight, and FTR kind of just succumbed and threw it that GG at the end. But that was actually really, really well played. I was really impressed by FTR. As you said in our first game, we don't know who these guys are, and we just kind of picked them up to see some new teams, to see some new faces. And they impressed us in the first game, and then they even impressed us more in the second game against a very, very capable team in Hot Hands. So props to them, but of course props to Hot Hands, who will be advancing to round 3.
Agreed, and we will be most likely following them into the next round. However, guys, we of course will be taking a 5 or so minute break here to rest ourselves, get drinks. I suggest you guys all do the same. As always, if you're enjoying this cast, please follow below on my Twitch channel. You can also check out the VODs at YouTube/DotaRaptors, my Twitter where we'll update you at @DotaRaptors, and then for Nizcast, who's a little bit better at tweeting because he is not dealing with the OBS and such, you can follow him at Nizcast. He will keep you guys updated more frequently with what teams we are going to be casting. And also, you can check out his Twitch/Nizcast. And awesome that Niz found out how to host my channel. That's really cool. So thank you, Niz. Give you a thank you right here, right now, in front of everyone. But we will see you into the next game, guys. So keep the hype real. Keep the action, or get ready for the action, as it will be continuing on this stream in the next few minutes.